finding land, then they have to go in and do the site plan, but before we close, to make sure that everything is cool.
Right.
So that lifestyle, I've had a good relationship. Of course, we haven't come to the table, so I'm assuming I'm going to get paid. But I mean, I registered them and everything. But you know, the thing is just even with land, it's hard to find, you know, land. I mean, you know, my clients wanted a couple of acres. They want like 4 acres, and it's so hard to find out there. It's incredible.
I do have that 5 acres in North Meriden Island, which is great.
Yeah.
It's got down to under $200,000 now, so it's pretty good. But keep in mind, like with all this stuff, you've got to get creative. The creative people are the ones who are going to survive this type of market. I don't see this market being like this for more than another 6 months, but that's still 6 months, right? The upside is our pending contracts for the group is running around 32 million, which is what we have been doing. So as a EXP, we've been doing really well. The other thing I don't want you to do is I don't want you to look at this as an excuse not to be successful. And I hear that a lot with people. Well, you know the market. Well, you know this. Well, you know that. You can literally have an excuse every other day of the rest of your life on these things. But don't do that. Don't pull the oh poor pitiful me card, because I mean, you can pull it to yourself, but don't pull it to me because I won't accept it. I don't buy that type of bullshit. So so if you want to be successful, you can be successful. So with that said, I have a couple things. Has anybody been working on their out of area list? I know you are, Nikki. That's because I beat you down.
I actually sent out a letter to everybody who was an out of state owner, but a U.S. resident and had the house at least 5 years.
Yep.
And I had a Zoom meeting today with a person in Michigan and a person in Alaska. I should have eliminated that one because that's a 5-hour time zone difference, but it is what it is.
It is. And I know Nikki's done that, and I think a few more people have done that. Did Pat become Arab? What is that? I like her turban. Anyway, so so you got to be thinking differently. But when I'm talking about out of area list, I'm actually even talking about your people that you know out of area, right? You know, where our market is extra tight. Other markets are tight, but they're not as tight as we are. So you might want to start reaching out to people that you know in other areas, so at least you can generate referral fees. And we've talked about that before, right? I don't want to get to a whole training class on that. The other thing I want to, and see if anybody will actually respond to this, is if you're not getting where you want to go right now, what is blocking you? Anybody be open enough to share that?
Me.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Me. Yeah, and I have been here for 4 years. I think it's the, best model I've ever seen. And I'm having trouble just getting other people to look at it.
Yeah.
But it's the way I'm doing it.
Yeah. So that's more on attraction versus real estate, but we'll talk about that for a minute.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I wasn't sure.
That's okay. No, these are open. These are open anytime. I'm good.
Okay.
No, we can talk about anything. That's why I like these. As long as you're not, making me do stuff that I don't want to do. So no, that's good. And so I will tell you with attraction, what I've seen for the last 4 years is people reach out to somebody, do it incorrectly, and then that kind of stops them from doing it anymore. And I think maybe next Monday we'll do our class on attraction. But the reality is lots of people that are just regular agents doing really, really well. And the number one thing they do is they follow a system. And I see so many people trying to do things outside of the system, meaning send a video and set up an appointment with me. I mean, that's really all you got to do. Send a video, set an appointment with me. And then let me do what I do, which I'm pretty good at. So that's the number one thing I see people doing. Instead of just doing that, they're trying to answer all the questions. They're trying to get involved in this big, long conversation. And once you start doing that with someone, they generally are not going to join, and it's a psychological thing. There's a reason why they do everything we do. The psychological part of that is if they think they have to learn all this stuff to join EXP and introduce people to the company, they're done. They're not, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I have no desire to do that. I just want to sell houses, leave me alone. And so the cool thing, but when they see all you have to do is send a video and make an appointment with me, and that's all you got to do. Now it becomes a lot more realistic and a lot more easy to do. People who are doing this wrong tend to over talk up the ability to do that, to introduce people to the company. So it's, again, sets an expectation of too high for some people. For instance, if someone comes in and says, oh yeah, you can make $100,000 a year just doing that, right? And the person's never made more than $100,000 a year in their life, they're pretty much done at that point. It's not a real number. So, that's why you've all heard me say, if you introduce 2 people a year to the company over the next 3 years, and they introduce one person over those 3 years, that's up to $36,000 a year in referral fees. People get that. If you use the word recruit, bye, they're gone. If you use the word even rev share, right? I don't like that word. It's introduce and referral fees. So yeah, and Kathy, I have tons of trainings online for attraction.
Okay.
Take a look at those. I did one in November. I'm going to do another one shortly, probably the next week or two, because they are helpful for everybody, and we do definitely get an uptick when we do that. All right, any other people, things are blocking them that want to share? Nikki?
So I have a question that's unrelated to what we're talking about, though.
That's okay.
Okay, so I was wondering, just because I'm super new, and this is the first time that this has happened to me, where you're dealing with an agent that's in the same office for a deal, either like on the buying and selling side, or if there's an agent that you're competing with for a transaction to go through, just so that I know how to handle a situation like that. What's the typical like conversation like, and what are you allowed to say and not allowed to say, and how is that normally handled? And I'm definitely not going to throw out any names right now.
I don't want you to do that. So you and another EXP agent are both going after the same house?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you don't handle it any different than it was someone from Coldwell Banker, Remax, or anywhere else. Your job is to win the bid for your customer. That's it. There's no, so keep in mind, you don't work for other EXP agents, right? You work for your customer. We all work for our customers. Now, my business, you guys are my customers pretty much, right? So I work for you guys. But generally speaking, and Nikki, I'll be honest, if you and I are going up against the same thing for a house and I have a customer, I'm going to do my best to beat you, right? Because that's my job. My job is to take care of my real estate customer, right? So that should not be a thought inside of your brain. So take that thought.
But what if this has happened to me before too. What if, like Mitch, well, I mean, this happened to you and I actually, I mean, not really, because your person didn't do it. But remember, there's that listing that I was looking at in Palm Bay, and I was telling you about it, and I was asking for your advice on how to create this offer for this $1 million+ listing. And you're like, oh, I had clients that were going to look at that. And I'm like, oh, shoot, because I just divulged a bunch of stuff about my client to you. Right. But luckily you decided yours wasn't interested, but you know what I mean? So, what happens if you're chatting like we were even, and then I gave you information, and then we were going to be competitor. We could have been competitors, and I just gave you all my cards.
Yep, and I would have won then.
I know. So that's like what's
so the good news for you guys is I sell very, very few homes, right? So that's unusual. That would be it, and I'm not working with buyers at all anymore, so that won't happen ever again, anyways. Okay, I'm just referring buyers out. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be those little types of innuendo or nuances that happen in our business and stuff like that. But generally speaking, let's take me out of the picture for a minute. Generally speaking, you're not going to have that conversation with another EXP agent.
Well, but because we're like, a lot of us are still learning and, we're like, having, conversations amongst each other about, different situations and different scenarios. And everyone like in our group is so willing to help each other, which is fantastic. That it's like, it seems like that could be common to, like go and talk to someone about a situation and then it, just by coincidence, there are more than one party like involved in that transaction.
Right.
So it's, I mean, has anybody else had that situation happen to them before?
I think this is going to happen more and more often a little bit. Well, because of the environment that EXP has with the collaboration, which is one of the most attractive things I find about this company, and the fact that we are the #1 in terms of agents in this county, right? This is probably going to happen more often than it might in other brokerages, I would imagine, because
There's
other
also
brokerages don't share like we do and collaborate and help each other as much as we do.
right, and there's also an upside to that too. So the upside to that is, if you're working with another EXP agent on the other side of the listing, it's a lot easier. So
Right.
What if it's a triangle?
uh,
All EXP.
yeah, it's, well, here's the deal. You ultimately, in the end, if I'm my listing agent and Nikki and Jimmy, you both and Debbie and Lou all bring me 4 offers, right? I'm going to sit down and go,
Cookies to get it.
I'm going to do what's best for my customer always. And honestly, Nikki, if you brought me an offer and Johnny No Brain from Remax brings me an offer, I'm still going to do what's best for my customer. I mean, ultimately, you have to put yourself in a box, and you have to do what's right for your customer. And if the Remax offer is higher, the Remax offer is higher. So I'll give you an example. I'm in the middle of a mother that just ended yesterday because it didn't go through, but a negotiation, and I'm trying to get a pretty large referral fee out of those people up in Michigan, and because I'm going through the listing agent, and I wanted a good amount of money out of the buyer side. And she goes, well, look, just get this straight. So, I might not even present your offer, and I'll just find my own buyer if you want that high. So that's not doing what's best for the customer, right? You do what's best for the customer. Good. Any other questions on that?
I would just comment. I mean, in theory, you would hope, if it was, say, like Jamie was talking about, 2 of you going against, going up for the same thing, and maybe one of you has given some information. I mean, you should, and one would hope that the other side would also look at it as if you had both the buyer and the seller, where you should really just be advising your buyer to the best of your ability, not using the information that you have. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's ideal, of course, but I do want you to say that my job, especially if I'm a single agent for the listing agent, I'm kind of legally obligated to say anything you tell me, right? So you have to look at the other EXP agent as I don't know use the word enemy, but as the counterpoint of what you're trying to do, because it's you work for your customer. So your relationships with me or anybody else is not relevant to be involved with that. Now, again, I'm not working with buyers, so you're not going to run into that with me with buyers, and because we stopped those in January. Any other questions on that before we move on? So I got a special guest here today. And Jen, I'm going to butcher your last name. Jen Pereira.
It's Pereira, but I don't say it as really as fancy as my husband because I'm not of the Spanish descent, but my husband is. So he says it really fancy.
Yeah. So anyway, so Jen is from Fidelity. We've got the chance to meet last week and talk for we spent like 6 hours together hanging out.
Yeah.
And, she's awesome. She's really, really funny and knowledgeable. And funny and knowledgeable are important, because if you're knowledgeable, you're not funny. I just don't want to talk to you. And today she's going to talk a little bit about Fidelity, but really go over your app. And I'm going to actually turn the things over to you somehow. Okay, figure out how to do that whole thing.
Yeah, thank you. I think I was able to share the screen, but thank you
Okay.
guys for having me this morning. I'm not going to hijack too much of your meeting, but I just wanted to introduce myself, Jennifer Pereira. I go by Jen from Fidelity National Title. We're a Fortune 500 company. We are nationwide, but in Florida, we are known as Chelsea Title and Fidelity National Title. We have 2 offices in Brevard County and 66 offices total in Florida. So we can pretty much handle any area where you guys are buying or selling. So I did put my contact information in the chat. If you're interested in receiving a text with the app link, I'd be happy to send that over to you, and then obviously meet with you guys one-on-one if you have additional questions. But today I just wanted to go over and let me see if I can share my screen. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Does it say Fidelity Agent 1?
It says Mitch Ribeck is wicked awesome. Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. I just want to make sure I'm sharing the correct Mitch screen. Okay, so this is available as an app, but it's also available where you can get onto your desktop and just log in after you download the app. So super convenient on the go, or if you're sitting in front of your computer and you're working on a listing presentation, or you're working on a buyer presentation. So real quickly, I'm going to use my address as an example. And basically what we're doing here is we're going to be pulling up public information that's available.
Give it some more room, baby. Yeah. Baby, you won't fall off.
Somebody have a puppy? A puppy on their lap?
I want a puppy.
I know. I have my puppy on my lap, so that way they won't bark. So basically, we're gonna pull up some information. This is my address. So I welcome all like Christmas cards or birthday cards. So anyway, this is gonna pull up the public information. And as you can see, it's pulling in my real estate taxes from last year. So this will actually prorate it based upon an estimated closing date. For some reason, my mortgage doesn't show up. I just refinanced it. So we can go ahead and we'll come down to that. So basically you can ask your client if they have a conventional loan. It's basically going to determine how that interest is going to be calculated till the end of the month. But I just leave it, right at conventional. You don't have to get that nitty gritty on it. But you guys are thinking that my house is going to sell for $393, and you're going to charge me 6% to sell the home. But let's say you're going to sell my home, and then you're going to represent me on my next purchase, and you have agreed with the seller that you're going to reduce your fee maybe by 2.5% to 2.5%. But you want to leave the buyer's fee at 3%. So you can it'll show the split on the actual report. But let's say you're going in and you're working with a for sale by owner. They are adamant about not paying a listing agent. So what you can do is you can take this out and you can just put 3% in and basically turn off the split, because they don't want to see anything about a listing broker, right? Has anybody dealt with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just leave it at 3 and 3 for now. We're going to keep the split on, and this is only if you want to save something permanent for future estimates. But for this one, we're just going to do for this estimate only, because I went in there and kind of messed with some things. So let's say that for a fact you're going to have like a carpet allowance. You can add in that. Miscellaneous is if you guys have like a transaction fee that's always charged. You can just go ahead and put that in here and then save it for future estimates. Or if you're getting offers in and they're asking for a home warranty, or a seller contribution, you can go ahead and put those amounts in there because you're going to make this estimate as accurate as possible. So that's really handy. So for loan balance, you can just do an estimate if you ask your seller approximately what they owe. And if you have the interest rate in there, it can be like 4.5. It's going to basically show what their interest is going to be through the end of the month. But that's really getting very detailed. And most of the time, everyone just kind of leaves that at 0. You can go ahead and, pick a closing date. So I will say, on some of these cash deals that are coming in, if there's a homeowners association, 10 business days is a good frame to do a quick closing. And then let's say that you know that your owner has only owned the home less than 3 years. So you want to make this as accurate as possible. So you can actually click this button and it'll you just ask your seller, hey, what was your original purchase price? Oh, it was $300,000. So it's going to calculate the credit that's due to the seller because they have their owner's policy and they've owned less than 3 years. Just a little side note, if anybody's doing any refinances, that's lifetime. You'll always get a reissue credit. And then also a survey credit if you have a accurate survey. So nice thing about this, it'll compute it for you. All the doc stamp formulas, everything's in here. So it'll just give you a nice little summary, but the report is where it actually comes in that you can print out and provide to your client. You can actually email it as well. So there's several different options to choose from. And, they don't have to sign it. This is just, if you wanted them to acknowledge that it's an estimate, but it's not required. And Mitch, for compliance, do you know if this would work for the initial net sheet? Do you guys have a compliance checklist that includes like a net sheet in the beginning?
No, we don't. I think that would be fine. No, it's just as long as you disclose, it's just an estimate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's on here. So I do have agents that this does satisfy for compliance, just to give that initial net sheet. So it'll break down the fees, the title policy, a search fee, a closing fee, and a lien search fee. So we don't have any junk fees. We just are passing along the lien search fee and the search fee, and then the closing fee is, of course, us coordinating, all the closings and, paying the staff inside. So estimated closing date, let's say you've branded yourself, you want to change some colors around on here, you can. This actually shows my name, but that will show your name, with your branding as well down here. So it's kind of nice to keep everything consistent during your presentation. So you can download it, you can save it on there and share it however you like. So does anybody have any questions on the seller net sheet? It's pretty easy, plug and play.
I like it. It's really cool. So this is an app or on your computer, right?
Yep, you can log in both ways. And there's also a multiple offer. So if you want to, if you're printing out and you're meeting with your seller and you're going over multiple offers, it's kind of nice to maybe put one of these reports with all of your offers, because one may be offering, to pay the seller's closing costs up to a certain amount. So you can add and delete charges. Somebody may be asking for a home warranty, so you can put that in there. Somebody may be asking for a seller contribution, which is pretty rare right now, just to be competitive, but you can also put that in there as well and work on adding multiple offers. And what it'll do is it'll actually list them all, and then you can print it as a report. You can say, this is offer 1, you put a sticky note on offer 1, and you say, this is what you're gonna net on offer 1. Offer 2 and offer 3. So it's a nice way when you're getting, 20 offers to kind of put them all out to see, which one's going to be better. This one's conventional, this one's VA, this one's cash. So you can kind of make sense of it rather than doing like a spreadsheet. This will look really professional. So if anybody has any questions on that when you're working through a multiple offer worksheet, you can just let me know, give me a call. Here is holding costs. Let's say you have somebody that's kind of, I really don't know if I want to sell or not. You can show them, and this will also, you can print it out as a report, you know, what it's going to cost for them to hold on to their home. So you can just show them that now is a good time to be selling, and you're going to have that holding cost in the future. So anybody have any questions on that?
That's pretty cool. So this is really good for your listing appointments, guys, or if you're in the middle of, you know, you can do it on the fly. I'm assuming here you can just, you're in the middle of a conversation. Now you can change that conversation.
Yeah.
Based on the conversation you have with them. You go in there thinking the price is $350, and then when you go in there, you find out the home was really modified and all that stuff. Now you can go open up your phone, change the app to 400 in this case. Because you all know if it's 390, you should be listing it at 400, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Or you just take your computer and I don't know if your listing presentation is paperless, but you could always have this open on the side, and they're like, you know what? I really don't want to sell it at 393. What will I net at 395? So you're able to give them those options. So then we go back over just to the buyer side. If you guys have a favorite lender, you can always ask your lender, hey, you know, what are your fees? And you can actually show them this app, and they can go ahead and put the fees in, because this is an estimate, and we are basically putting in every fee that we know on an average. Right. But this underwriting fee may be $1,000. That appraisal fee, that's probably pretty low. So I would go with your lender, and when you're doing a buyer's presentation, maybe they haven't talked to your lender yet, but that way you can give them, you know, a closer estimate of, you know, what it's going to charge. So you can go in there and kind of play with that and make your defaults the way you want them to. So for instance, 393 again, and they're going to put 10% down. Interest rates are running around like 3% right now, typical. You can change the years, and let's say, you know, you don't have a house yet, so you just want to put a percentage on just to give them an idea of what their monthly payment is going to be. But if they have their eye on a house, you can put in the actual real estate tax, but kind of leave the insurance the way it is at a percentage. So it's going to calculate, but again, this doesn't look super friendly. So you would actually make a report as it loads. So it'll give them, you know, an estimated cost, you know, what their percentage down would be, closing costs, prepaids, you know, setting up escrow, things like that. But another really cool thing is, let's say you guys are doing an open house, and you want to have something additional to set out at your open house. If you put in the address like I did, it's remembering it from the seller. It will start to, and this is on a different section, but it'll calculate, or it'll actually show you the schools that are nearby, restaurants, the internet speed, the walking score, you know, what's convenient, shopping, things like that. So it's just something you can have out, you know, at your open house. And then there's a ton of infographics that you can use as well, you know, for your marketing. So there's also some nice little calculators on here. I don't know, has anybody been running into sellers saying, oh, I'm just going to go with the iBuyer?
Yeah, you're not seeing it too much right now with the market the way it is. We'll start seeing that again by the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a really cool iBuyer comparison. So if you have, you know, some of your prospects are like, you know what, I think I'm just going to go with an iBuyer. You can actually create a report to show them what the cost of convenience is. So it's kind of like, hey, I just went to the grocery store and, you know, I bought some turkey meat to make a hamburger, but yet if I go to BJ's, I'm going to pay $7 to make, you know, for one hamburger. But yet if I, you know, so the cost of convenience kind of going to show you with that scenario. So if it ever comes back, I'll just show it to you really, really quickly. Let's see. that's kind of a high interest rate, but you know. So basically the iBuyer will only give you 94% of the market price. And you can actually change that if you see that they're actually giving more on that. So let me just go 393.
And generally right now, iBuyers, there's two different types of iBuyers, buyers that buy and hold and buyers that buy and flip. The buy and flips are going to be closer to 70 cents on the dollar. And the buy and holds can be between 90 and 95%.
Gotcha. Yeah, the investors in comparison. So basically you could have this, you know, just handy, just in case. Like, you know, you want to go in, you think the house is going to sell at 393 and iBuyer may come in at 369. The balances obviously are identical. I owe 120,000. Here's the closing cost, the commission, but you look at the difference. Their service fee is way higher than what they'll be paying for commission.
Yeah, so they don't do, just for education stakes here, they don't have commissions. They have service fees, which are always higher. They're generally running about 8 to 10%.
Yep.
So, you know, so not only are they trying to go cheaper, they think they're going cheap by selling it quickly. They're actually paying a lot more in commissions. And so this is a great stack to have if you go above somebody like that.
Yeah.
Now,
So it's always
the EXP iBuyer program does not have those fees.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're a lot different. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're going into just a traditional listing appointment, and they've even talked about this once, brought it up, you can always just kind of put this in and use it as a comparison. You can work at different price points as well. So basically it's going to show them what the cost of convenience is. And of course it'll be branded to you as well. So that's a nice little thing to have. So like I said, there's other calculators in here. There's a rent versus buy. So if you're working with a renter, it'll create, you know, a scenario, and you guys can get in here and just kind of play around with it. There's also a premium section. So the buyer and the seller net sheet is completely free. But there are some infographics. It's either 99 cents a month or $9.99 for the whole entire year. So it's not something that you're required to get, but there are some pretty cool things that we're constantly updating. There are a ton of infographics that you can use in social media. You could actually talk about this in a video, because video is very, very powerful. And you say, you know, I'm gonna comment below with the flyer that I just talked about. So you can kind of get in there and play around with it. We've got Facebook posts, Instagram stories, so marketing that's not going to look like everybody else's marketing. List reports is great, but this will give you another avenue to go ahead and start posting some cool stuff. There's also lead gen calculators in here as well. So that's something that's really cool, where they're interactive. So you could actually post this to your Facebook page, and it's an interactive tool. So if somebody wanted to play around with the calculator and then reach out for more information, you would actually get an email from Palm Agent that you have a lead. So basically someone would go in, they'd start playing with the calculator as it's loading. And I owe 120. I wish I owed 120. So it basically says how much of my net would I like to use on my new purchase. So this is maybe somebody that's wanting to do some upsizing. So basically at the end, this will be you, and they'll say, contact me for more information. They'll put their name and their email, and that's where you'll get the email that you actually have a lead. So it's got some different options that you can play around with. Some cute little lenses, some branded videos for you guys that'll have your information at the end. But a lot of different options for these lead gen. As you can see, we're constantly updating the covers, but definitely run some ads off of this on Facebook. You know, that's one of the lead generation tools that have been working for a lot of my partners. So if you have any specific questions about that, I can actually help you with that as well. So does anybody have any questions that look cool or?
That's a whole $10 a year, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So if anybody's struggling a little bit, I'll lend you your $10 if you want to do that.
Yeah. So, but that's basically the seller and buyer net sheet that we provide for you guys, and I put my contact information.
I missed the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Me too.
Yeah, I recorded it, guys. I'll send it out to you.
Oh, great. That's awesome. So, but if you have any questions at all, just feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, Jen, if you haven't, put your contact info in the chat box.
Yeah, I did. So I'm just trying to figure out how to stop sharing. I don't know if you can
There
make
should be
me
a
stop.
button up top that says stop sharing.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. More share sound. Well, I already shared my sound.
Yeah, go ahead, right? It can stay there. It's no big deal.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Jen, for coming out and doing this for us, because talking
Yeah.
about this app, I just thought it'd be a great tool for you guys to use, especially something you can just have on your phone while you're on the fly. Is that those are emailable too?
Yeah, I can actually email the link or text it to you guys, but just feel free to shoot me a text with your name, and I'll tell you the steps to actually download it. So.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Jen's phone number is 407-883-6292. So cool. Well, thanks, Jen. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Anybody else have anything about anything before we move on to our day and get the world rocking?
I was going to ask, what area of Brevard are you in?
So we have an office in Titusville, and we have an office in Merritt Island. We also have one in Port St. Lucie, but it's under Chelsea title. And then in Central Florida, we have another 10 locations that's underneath our leadership. But anytime you need anything, let's say you've got a listing in Miami, we can get you handled. We'd actually probably just process it out of the Brevard County office, just because you get to know the people. And then we can do courtesy closings at any of our offices. We have remote online notarization, which is really popular with sellers. Not all lenders are on board yet, but we can actually, let's say your seller moves to Oregon and there's a storm, which this really did happen, where we sent the paperwork out a week ahead of time for the seller, and the storm hit, and FedEx, the package was not moving at all. So the night before, we were like, okay, the package is not coming in. We just did a 15-minute online appointment with the seller, signed it remotely, and then the buyer closed the next day without a hitch.
Okay.
So
very cool.
Yeah, lots of good ways to close. It's convenient. Yep. Yeah.
And we are just an FYI, so we are in talks. I think a lot of you guys know that I'm helping build up the preferred partnerships with EXP for them. And so we're in talks with Fidelity now as being one of our national title companies that we work with. So we got meetings coming up shortly to discuss. So cool stuff. Also, for those of you that remember Jason Delon, my buddy in New Orleans, they just signed up last week as a preferred lender for EXP, and we're going to launch them in Florida sometimes over the next 2 weeks. We got a meeting today on that. So it's pretty cool. All right. Anybody else have anything else to chat about real quick before we kick this off?
Hey, Mitch. Hey, this is Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Jason DeLon, since you mentioned him, I've been using him since you had him on here, what, a month or two ago? I mean, I love the guy.
People always say, I can't believe you use an out-of-area lender. He's the best. He's the best there is.
Exactly. I mean, I had a customer who went to their own lender. Then I sent them to somebody else. Neither of them could get them done. And I said, here, give Jason a shot. And now I just tell people, just go straight to Jason. I mean, if he can't do it, don't use anybody else in the country.
Yeah. Jason and I had the conversation last week. We talk. We're good friends. We talk all the time.
Right.
And if you ever see me and him next to each other, it's really one of the funniest sights you'll ever see. He's like 18 feet tall and 18 feet wide, and I'm like me. But Yeah, he's finding that a lot. That's how we ended up working together. He was a customer of one of my my inside sales department, a company that I had, and I had a deal I couldn't get done. He said, "I'll do it." I'm like, okay, and he did it. And then I had a really complex deal with a guy that had multiple streams of income. That was a little more challenging. Got that one done. We had one that was wasn't me, as one of our agents. They could only get her qualified to 250. He got her qualified to 3.25 and closed.
Right.
Just completely different, right? Anyways, yeah, if you need Jason's info, just send me a text and I can copy and paste it into your text for you. All right, guys, we'll have
Wait, quick question regarding Jason. Seeing that it's out of the area, I'm noticing a lot of agents requiring proof of funds in a local lender.
Yeah, well, they can't. So first of all, they can't make you do that.
Yeah.
So what they'll do sometimes is they'll say you need to still get a pre-approval from a local lender, right? Which again, I think is a violation. And one of these days, if I see it, I don't really honestly see that very often. But if I do see that, I'm going to challenge someone and take them as far as I can take them on that, because I think it's what the, how do I say that nicely? Bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So we're going to deal with that stuff. We're going to deal with all sorts of stuff as this market gets tighter. Everything gets tighter, right? You're going to see tempers flare up a little bit more. You're going to have the listing agents pretending they're God. I mean, that's, there's lots of stuff we deal with when we deal with this type of market. Anybody else?
Mitch, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you maybe include Jason's, I have it, but because we use him all the time, been using him for years. But can you maybe include his contact info on when this meeting goes out? Because I know a couple people are asking for the contact info.
Yeah, I'll do that. When I send this link out, I'll send it to you, right? Send Jason's contact. Okay. Yeah, so my goal, I just want to give you some numbers. So Intralend, which is the mortgage partner we currently have, did like 12 deals last month. When we did our last little class with Jason, we did with 16 of us, we did 9 deals from that. So we're pretty strong that we're gonna be able to bring Jason in, and we have about 30,000 producing agents in the company right now. There's not one agent I know of that can go through an entire year without anybody having no issues with financing. So that's our goal, is just use who you're using, but if you can't get a deal done, bring it to Jason. And I said he's the only person I've met so far that can work magic. Amazing stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, have an awesome week, Jen. Thanks again for coming, my dear. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Available if you guys have any questions. I know Maria just signed up for the app, so I got you. Every year you'll renew. So.
And we'll send this out this is going to go out to all of our agents here, Jen. So in a video, so they'll all see this. Well, I can't say they'll all see it because most won't watch it, but the ones that watch it will see it. So, all right, thanks everybody. Have a wicked awesome
week. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good day.
See you later.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.